Something that's captured my imagination in my studies of organizational change is the concept that true organization development is not about physical changes or procedural changes, but it's about changes in the way people talk and think about their organization, their work, and their world. Holman says that change occurs through changing the conversations in a system. Those changes in thought lead to changes in action in ways that become deeply ingrained and long-lasting. It's what Bush calls a change in the social construction of reality. The conversation we want to change at MITRE is a conversation that changes the social construction of reality around disability inclusion, starting with neurodiversity. What's neurodiversity? Neurodiversity is a term that's used to describe the broad range of differences in individual brain function, behavioral traits. It's regarded as part of the normal variation in human population. Everyone thinks and sees the world differently. People vary more widely from the norm sometimes, and like with dyslexia, ADHD, dyspraxia, people on the autism spectrum, they're considered neurodivergent. The opportunity we have at MITRE is we are currently launching 2 concurrent programs that hire and support autistic cyber talent. The first program is our own. It's called the Portal Project. It's designed to open that door a little bit wider for neurodivergent candidates and employees. We already have a handful of co-op students who are participating in our pilot, a couple of different managers, and we plan to scale up really quickly. The second program is a result of our Gear Center competition and the subsequent grant that came out of that. For that competition, we proposed to teach a federal agency how to run their own neurodiversity hiring and support program, to rewrite an existing Autism at Work playbook so that it encompasses all that's entailed with hiring into a federal agency. Both of these programs have real potential to change the conversation around what it means to hire and support talent that's neurodivergent. What should the conversation be? People who are neurodivergent, especially those on the autism spectrum, often have a difficult time finding and keeping work. In fact, they are the most underemployed of all the disability groups. Close to 85% is what they've calculated are either unemployed completely or underemployed, like a PhD who delivers pizza. The most important part of making a workplace more purposely neurodiverse is changing the way we think and talk about what's normal and what's required from candidates. Do we really need a genius coder to be able to make small talk? Do we need an incredibly detail-oriented designer to have good eye contact and a firm handshake? Shouldn't a team member who is really blunt about a program's shortcomings be valued as an asset instead of an annoyance? All these changes in perspective lead to stronger teams with greater depth of knowledge, and all of them start with changing the conversations we have about prospective employees and current employees. It takes reframing, which is an aspect of growth mindset that is particularly vital in this situation, because switching the conversation from negative to positive is the crux of this whole neurodiversity movement. Why is this a fit at MITRE? Diversity of thought's been a major focus at MITRE recently. Through presentations you may have seen from the Medici Group, through recognition for diversity-focused employee resource groups, and other efforts. All these efforts make this the perfect time to introduce the idea of extreme diversity of thought by encouraging and training teams to welcome in neurodivergence. Changing the conversation about employing people who are neurodivergent in our own organization has some far-reaching implications for the federal government. Designing a successful program that answers tough questions in a way we haven't even imagined yet is the kind of design thinking at which MITRE is very good. Fortunately for us, the concept of an autism hiring and support program has already been designed, tested, refined by other leaders in the tech world like SAP, Microsoft, EY. That leaves us free to do the work of reframing attitudes in our own organization and refining methods specifically for federal agencies. How do we do that? We have 2 different opportunities to use appreciative inquiry to promote neurodiversity in the workplace. First, we can use it within our own org, with HR leadership as they begin to design our new systems, with managers who could be willing to hire in autistic talent or who are already struggling to support and manage people on the autism spectrum. All of these could use some encouragement to positively frame their situation with some generative questions. We could ask our HR team, What would our hiring and onboarding look like if it was completely accessible for people with disabilities, including cognitive disabilities like autism? Even more, we could say, how high would our best places to work ratings go if our hiring and onboarding systems were some of the most completely accessible in the region? The good news is our HR team's already asking these questions. They're already looking at the systems through a neurodiverse lens because of our program. We could help our managers and coworkers ask, which of our most difficult problems could we solve more quickly if our team had truly different thinkers involved? Or take it a step further, what opportunities would come our way if our team was known as the most creative problem solvers in the company? Then we help answer those questions by providing neurodiversity training, support, guidance for managers and the whole team, and by helping teams find and train up those neurodivergent thinkers. We also have a chance to influence the federal workforce by helping agencies explore their options and imagine how strong and diverse their future workforce can be. The questions would be similar, but they would be tailored to include things like, what deeper questions could we focus on if our cybersecurity positions were all filled by deep, diverse thinkers and people were clamoring to work for us because we're so inclusive? Action research is the next step. It's where we have a chance to change the conversation long term. Tracking what we do, sharing the results, broadens the conversational change from just our enterprise and even beyond the federal agencies we hope to work with. As we establish a pilot, research along the way will reinforce the new conversation by giving tangible proofs of positive results of the shift. One way we can do that is to research, track, and document the federal exceptions we use in our federal hiring project. We put a lot of stock in these exceptions as tools to speed hiring, but do they really work, and how well? What else could be done? After a year of working within those constraints, our data would be really useful, not just for us and for other agencies and federal contractors, but for policymakers and other advocacy groups that are working to improve those exceptions. How do you get involved now to become engaged in this movement of recognizing full human potential? The conversation needs to be big. It needs to include as many people as possible. The first step is to attend informational sessions. We learn about neurodiversity. We learn how to ask these generative questions. And in the internal program, we need managers who are willing to ask those questions and develop the answers with us. We'll provide managers with training and support and bring in highly qualified talent. We'll need social support for the neurodivergent coworkers. We need job mentors, buddies. The federal program is going to need even more help. Action research that we're going to do will need background researchers, careful tracking requiring teams that are knowledgeable in federal hiring programs. The program will also require people with cyber training expertise, program management skills, and enough passion for making a difference in this space to slog through the red tape that you know is going to be in our path. Do you have what it takes? Email neurodiversity@MITRE.org. That's NEURO diversity@MITRE.org. And let's start this new conversation.